Canaan Banana was arrested, the charges were serious: multiple counts of sodomy, abuse of office. The fallen father of a nation, he was once seen as one symbol of hope, a man of God, a unifier, a voice of calm in a country born from war. But behind the robe, behind the title, was a secret that would shock the entire nation. When Canaan Banana became the first president of Zimbabwe in 1980, the country was stepping out of the shadows of colonial rule. The war for independence had just ended. The wounds were still fresh. The future was uncertain. And Banana, soft-spoken, educated, deeply religious, seemed like the perfect figure to guide the nation symbolically. While Robert Mugabe held executive power, Banana was meant to embody unity, stability, morality. Before politics, Banana had been a Methodist minister, a spiritual leader, trusted by many. That made what came next even harder to believe. For many years, rumors circulated quietly, whispers among aides, uncomfortable stories that never quite made it into the open. Young men, late-night sermons, abuse of power. But in a country still finding its footing, no one spoke loudly enough. Until the 1990s. By then, Banana had stepped down from the presidency, but the past was catching up. It began with allegations from former aides, young men who had worked closely with him. They described a pattern, a disturbing one. They claimed Banana used his authority to coerce them into sexual acts, threats, manipulation, promises of protection, and when they resisted, there were consequences. At first, many refused to believe it. How could a former president, a man of the church, be capable of this? But then more voices came forward, and the silence broke. In 1997, the unthinkable happened. Canaan Banana was arrested. The charges were serious: multiple counts of sodomy, abuse of office, and indecent assault. In Zimbabwe, at the time, these accusations carried not legal weight, but deep social stigma. The trial that followed gripped the nation. Every detail was scrutinized, every testimony shocking. Witnesses described being called to his residence under official pretenses. Once inside, the situation would change. Power became pressure, and refusal was not an option. The court heard how Banana allegedly justified his actions, claiming spiritual or personal reasoning. But to the victims, it was exploitation. Plain and simple. The defense tried to fight back. They argued political motives, character assassination, but the testimonies were consistent, detailed, difficult to ignore. And then came the verdict. In 1999, Canaan Banana was found guilty. A former head of state, a religious leader, convicted of abusing the very people who trusted him. He was sentenced to prison, stripped of the image he once carried. For Zimbabwe, it was more than just a criminal case. It was a moment of reckoning. How had this gone unnoticed for so long? How many had stayed silent? And how does a nation process betrayal from someone who once represented its moral center? Banana served his sentence and was eventually released, but his legacy was permanently outed. He later lived in relative obscurity, eventually passing away in 2003. Even in death, his history remained complicated. Some remembered him for his role in independence. Others could not look past the crimes, because this wasn't just about one man. It was about power, the kind that shields wrongdoing, the kind that silences victims, the kind that makes the unthinkable possible. Canaan Banana's story is a reminder that titles don't define character, and authority does not equal integrity, because sometimes the people we trust the most are the ones we question last.